Welcome. Being rich and getting great. We're moving on to the science of being great. Take a deep breath. There you go. Let it go. Whatever it is, let it go and continue to breathe. And what I know is that the presence of the divine permeates, penetrates, and fills the interspaces of the universe. It is in and through all things. It is what we are. And I know that as Spirit manifests itself in us, as us, is us, that we have that principle of power that is our nature. We are great. How could we not be great? And so this night we open up to that greatness that we are. We have that connection to the divine. We read the mind of God because there's only one mind. We know what to do and when to do it. We are open to all of the omniscience, the all-knowing of Spirit. And when it's time for us to take action, we have all of the strength and all of the courage that is required to move into our greatness, to manifest it on the outside as it is on the inside. And I'm so grateful for the words of Wallace Wattles that makes it so clear and puts it into such easy to understand form. I know that we let our greatness out. We stand spiritually straight and tall, and we are great. And so I'm just grateful. And in that gratitude, I release this, knowing that everything is done, knowing that it's all God, because God is all, and so it is. So it is. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Again, thank you for coming out. Oh, and people are coming in. This is great. Hi, Troy. Hi, Susan. Hi, Jane. Hi, Betty. Hi. Wonderful. So if you don't have the science of being great, we have it in the back of the room, or it is on our website as a free PDF download, or it is a free audio book. How many of you are listening to me on audiobook? Good, good, good. I listened to me on audiobook. I really did a good job on this. You know, it's all filled with affect and enthusiasm, and I hardly stumble at all on the languaging. I can't remember back then. I know with the original textbook I would have to stop and read it and figure out where he was going to go, and then figure out what he was saying, and sometimes even look up a word or two so I knew what I was reading, and then I would start and reread it so that it would come out with the right focus on it and the right emphasis. But those are your ways of being in alignment with the rest of the class and the curriculum. And as I said in the beginning of the class, we are, but we're really not going, okay, this is chapters 1 through 4, and next week is going to be this or that. We're kind of bouncing around and looking at what's important and mixing in a little science of getting rich with a little science of being great. And I am going to print out his third book for you, the science of being well, I think it is, getting well. And it's a little short book, but that way you can have it. And it's not on our website, and it would be easier for me to print it out for you than to try to get it to put on the website so you can download it. So that's what we're going to do with that. And I don't know when the class is going to be over. I figure it's winter. It's going to be over when it's over. It might be over next week. I don't know. It might not be over for a month. But 2 weeks from tonight, I will not be here. There is no class. I will be in Utah at the annual convention, Centers for Spiritual Living Convention. And I'll miss that Monday, but we'll be back. I think we're coming back on Friday, so we'll be back. We won't miss it. I won't miss a Sunday. John will, but I won't miss a Sunday. And then all of the classes that week that I teach are not going to happen. Any questions before we get going? How are you with your vision boards?
Awesome.
Love it. Has anyone had demonstrations yet through their use of vision board?
Not
Susan.
this one, but in other ones. Definitely.
What happened?
Paloma was born.
Oh.
I put a baby there in my family portrait. I didn't even know she was pregnant. She was trying, but there she was.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Just one of the things.
Just one of the things.
Yeah.
Do you have your vision board where you can see it?
Yes.
Yes. Good, good. It's really important that you do that you don't just put it in the closet and have it face the wall. You want, even if you don't have to stop and affirm it and all of that. You just want it going into your subjective. And that's in alignment with what Wallace Wattles said in The Science of Getting Rich about making, thank you, about making a clear image of what it is you want. So we use the vision board to kind of act out that clear image so that we can have that and just put it where you can see it, where it goes into your subjective, where it sets spiritual law in motion and watch things show up in your life.
Can you consciously think about how beautiful it is and then it will...
Yes, you can consciously think about it all you want. What a good job you did, how beautiful it is, how these things are in your life, absolutely. But you don't have to, because I don't want people to look at it as a job or a task or something that they're not living up to their own self-imposed expectations, and now I'm not good enough doing vision boards. We don't want to do that. So just put it somewhere and let it go into your experience. Let it just be part of your life and watch it show up. Science of Being Great. I love this book. I love this book. We started talking about it 2 weeks ago. Hi, Crystal. We started talking about it 2 weeks ago, and I love it because it gives us some real guidance on how to be. Now, I love this philosophy because it doesn't give us that level of guidance in how to be, in that it doesn't have a highly moral content to it. I love to tell people I'm not moral. I do not teach morality. We don't do that. We teach ethics. We teach effects of our causes. We teach stepping up and being what you want to have, but we're not teaching that there's an outside power that stands in judgment of us and is, beating a whip that says you need to be a certain way, you need to say certain things, and for God's sake, you need to not do and not touch certain things. We don't do that. We don't teach you what to think, we teach you how to think. But in The Science of Being Great, he's got some wonderful tips on how to be, on how to think, on how to speak, on how to take action, on how to live life that really, for me, helps us in terms of creating the life that we want. And we don't have to do what he says. You don't have to overfill your space. You don't have to give out more in use value than you receive in cash value. You don't have to do that. You can go around and say, gimme, 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 I'm going to work a deal and live in the competitive universe and take a little bit advantage of this person before I think I'm going to burn in hell. I'm going to do that. You can do that, you just won't reap the harvest of the teachings. You'll reap a life that's at that level, a lower level life. And you don't want to do that. You want to really step up and raise the vibration and transcend, like John said yesterday, and bring your life up to a higher level and everybody else up around you, and your life will get better. But in The Science of Being Great, he's got some wonderful tips about things that keep you from being great and things that help you to be great. And so I want to ask you, not great and great. What kinds of things keep you from being great? Fear, your thoughts. And since it all boils down to fear, how does fear manifest in your being small instead of being great? When you're petty, when you're small, when you're constricted, how does that manifest as fear? Susan and then Michaela.
Doubting that you're not great.
Doubt.
Never mind.
What, Michaela?
Never mind.
Who? What else? Margaret.
Judgment.
Judgment. anger. Anxiety. Depression. Just shout it out.
Like inaction or paralysis, not
Paralysis.
Negativity.
So this is great. I want you to have these words because I want you to notice if that's going on. So many times people wait until they've totally screwed something up before they notice what's going on inside of them and how when they were standing at that crossroad of the moment of life, they could have gone to greatness or they could have gone to smallness and they chose smallness and this is what's at the end of that path. Don't wait that long. When you start to doubt, and who do you doubt? You never doubt anyone else, no matter how it looks. If you are doubting someone else, you must first doubt yourself. Now you can look at someone and know that they're not going to do what they say. That's not doubting them. That's just being realistic, being aware. For that matter, it's a really good idea to understand people and know whether or not this is going to be something that you can depend on or not. And if you can't, don't put all your eggs in that basket. If someone has said they were going to show up 3 times and they never show up, and now it's really important that they show up, maybe you want to think about it, but that's not doubting that person. Having unrealistic support of someone is not healthy. If someone keeps telling you that they don't want to do something and you're all, oh, you can do it, I know you can do it, I believe in you. No, leave them alone. Let them not do it. I think it was Maya Angelou who said, people will tell you who they are, and when they do, believe them.
Yep.
Just believe them. That's who they are. And unless some miracle happens where they're going to change, then they're going to continue being the way that they are. It's like you people are creating the miracle because you're saying, I want to change, I want to grow, I want to shift, I want to have a better life, which means I've got to have a better me, and then that will translate to the outside. But other people, for the most part, are not going to change. So doubt, if you're doubting someone, it's always doubting yourself. And where does that come from? He starts off the book by saying, there is a principle of power within every person. What does that mean? It means you can do it. I can do it. I can do it not because I'm going to make myself do it, not in the rah, 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 but that there is something within me. And it's a principle. It's a principle of power. What else might we use to describe that? God within. There's something inside of us. We are not mere humans. We are not random events of, he really likes evolution, but we're not random events of evolution. There's a purpose in us. There is a principle in us. There is something in us that is greater than our story, our thoughts, our deeds. There's something inside of us, and we can count on it, we can depend on it, we can lean on it, we can use it, whatever you want. Have you ever felt empty?
Yes.
It's awful. Feeling empty is awful, like there's just nothing to me. I'm deflated, I've got nothing going on, I have no resources, no talents, no gifts, I've got nothing, I'm nobody. That's a terrible feeling. And so what you want to do is get in touch with whatever this is inside and feel it, have a relationship with it, get to know it. So the first thing of fear is we're doubting ourselves, and the way to flip that over is to know that there's something inside of us. There's a principle of power within us. There's God inside of us. There's a light inside of us. That there's something inside of us. We're not just a random evolution of life into this form. There's something going on. And then he says, and that principle of power is in everybody. So what does that mean? We're all that, yes, but, and why is that important?
We are one.
We're one. Why is it important to know that the other people in your life have the same God experience, the same principle of power, that same something? Who said something over here?
We all have the ability to be great.
We all have the ability to be great. Yes, Linda.
I think it's kind of like the group mentality of joining a group with all the same flaws, like Alcoholics Anonymous or something. Where you need to know you're not the only one in this situation. And then if you see somebody else make some progress, you can relate to the fact that that could be you.
So whatever anybody else has done to grow, I can do that. Susan, and then Margaret.
It's not competitive, it's win-win.
It's a win-win. Yes, yes. Margaret.
We're all on the same level.
We're
There's
all on the
nobody
same
greater or less than.
Which takes us down to the judgment. We're all on the same level. And what happens when you start seeing the people in your life as having greatness in them?
They'll respond to that.
They do, they respond to that. And when we, in our insecurities, need to put ourselves above other people, and the only way we can figure out to do that is to push them down, when we do that, then they respond in kind. People are very happy to go down, and they'll get petty and vindictive and judgmental and angry and aggressive, and they will try to hurt us. They're happy to do that. It is the rare person that will transcend, rise up, tell me more, let's breathe through this and move into a healing. That's the rare person, and you are the rare person. Most other people, if you are judgmental of them, they will flip right in there and go into fight or flight and try to take you down. So we don't want to do that. It doesn't bring greatness out of us, and it doesn't bring greatness out of other people. If we have people in our lives that are challenging us, at some level that's coming from us. And so when we can see that I'm not empty, I'm not a loser, I'm not a nobody, I'm a somebody, I'm a winner, I'm full. When we can go there, then we can see that in other people. It is very difficult to see positiveness in other people if we are really busy being negative about ourselves. And so we go and we get that there is something inside of us, and then we get that there's something inside of you, because this principle is everywhere present. It's all the time. It's in everybody. It's in every one of us. You know, that's why we sing that, to program it into your subconscious. You're being hypnotized a little bit on Sunday morning with lovely music so that you get that. So there's a principle of power within you, and it's in everybody. When we are not feeling great, we have moved into fear. When we move into fear, we've moved into the competitive universe, which is doubt, judgment, anger, anxiety, depression, paralysis, negativity. Every one of those comes from the idea that I don't have enough, I can't pull this off, the odds are stacked against me, it's too hard, it's too much, nobody has ever done it before, how in the world do I think I can do it? Oh, I better just stay in bed. And we talk ourselves into that instead of talking ourselves into going and having a better life. What is the worst thing that can happen if we go for greatness?
Nothing.
Nothing. The worst thing that can happen is that nothing happens. You know, we just had the Super Bowl, and it reminds me of all the sports stories. The Denver Broncos lost miserably to the Seattle Seahawks 2 years ago. Seattle kicked their butts. And instead of everybody just walking away and saying, well, I guess I'm not meant to be a professional football player, I'm just going to go, you know, whatever. Instead of doing that, they said, no, there's a principle of power within me. There's a great football player within me. I don't know what happened in that game, but I'm not going to dwell on it. I'm not going to use it to put me down. I'm going to work diligently day and night to lift myself up. And then you've got this great team. By the ideas of greatness right now in our country, any member of the Denver Broncos is going to be considered great. They're great. They mastered. They overcame odds We do the same thing at the Olympics. All of the stories about things that people have overcome that they had to dig down inside of themselves to grab a hold of and to move forward, that most people would have just let crumble them, and then they get a shot at greatness. The worst thing that can happen is you don't get it. You don't get the outer definition of greatness, but if you go for it, you've got that inner experience. And I think the worst thing that can happen in life is that we spend all this time on planet Earth in physical form, and we don't...
Go for the goal.
Yeah, I don't want to use the word try, because trying doesn't work.
The word evolve a lot, if you don't evolve.
No, I'll use try. We don't even try. You know, we don't try to challenge ourselves. We just give in. Well, I had a terrible childhood, and my parents told me this and that, and they beat me, and, you know, I had no support, so I'm just going to live with that, and I'm going to accept it, and I'm going to demonstrate it in my life, instead of, if I have to live a life like that, somebody just go ahead and shoot me, because I don't want that experience. I would rather strive and give it all I've got and stand up and fall down and stand up and fall down and stand up and fall down to get a glimpse of the principle of power within us. That's why I say this is the hardest teaching in the world, because it asks everything of you. It asks you to let go of everything that is less than God Almighty showed up as you. In all of its magnificence, in all of its glory, in all of its power, God showed up as you. And any thought, any word, any experience other than that is something to be let go of. And so Wallace Wattles, in his languaging of the 1800s, says there's a principle of power within you. And it's in everybody, and anything that anybody has ever done, you can do.
That's a beautiful quote. I actually wrote it in the inscription of the book that I was sending to my goddaughter.
Nice. Yes. And then he goes on to say that anything that you can imagine, you can do. Because we are an evolving concept, energy, that life or spirit or this principle is evolving, and he makes his argument in that evolution has happened. So if evolution has happened, then we are evolving. And so if you're going to evolve, you've got to be able to embrace something greater than ever has been known before. He talks about species and the way they mutate, which I think is fascinating, that when a species has more life than its form can hold, it must create a new form. And so if the little water-breathing creature has the life to climb out of the water, it must develop lungs. And so we have these jumps in the physical forms of life. And I'm thinking, boy, if we want to have the form of our lives jump, we have to put more life in us than our existing form can handle, and then our existing form will shift. And it doesn't have to be our physical bodies. It can be the form of our job. It can be the form of our home. It can be the form of our friends. They have to shift. They have to evolve. They have to jump into a new form. And that gives you all the power. There's something inside of you. We can call it God, we can call it spirit, we can call it the life force, love, whatever you want to call it. And it's in everybody, and you can use that. It is evolving, which means everything in your life must be evolving. And as it evolves because you are putting more life than your old form could handle. And you know it's just the opposite too. You know, people who pull back and they don't want to get too excited. They think we are way too happy and they leave. We have people all the time say, you people are nuts, you're too happy. It just makes me very uncomfortable that you're all so happy. It makes you uncomfortable because we are putting more life out into our lives, and you are pulling back to say stay safe, and your life will not evolve. The problem with that is that people want their life to change, but they don't want to have to put anything out in it. They don't want to have to enliven their life to get it to grow. They want to think that they can stay constricted, constipated, holding on, and still have all the bennies and perks of someone who is out there putting the energy out there, waking up and saying, today is a happy day, today is the best day ever, I'm going to have a great life, this is wonderful, of course all the doors are open to me, I feel fantastic, I'm so happy to see you, I love you so much, there is a light inside of you that just fills my heart, I'm so glad. Somebody else is over there going, I'm not doing that. They're really not doing that. Gee, I'd like to have some more money. I'd like to have a better car. I'd like to have more friends. Well, then you've got to put it out there. You've got to take that principle of power within you and move it. Life is not stagnant. What happens when you have water and it doesn't move?
Get mosquitoes. It smells.
It gets yucky.
Yeah.
It stinks.
It
It
breathes
molds. It melts.
darkness.
What happens when your blood doesn't move? You die. What happens when your bowels don't move? You know, life has got to be moving. We have got to exhale and inhale. And life is a movement of energy. And so what Wallace is saying is, you can be great. You want to be great? You can be great. Wonderful. It's already inside of you. Your job is to take that and put it into your life, put it into your world, and then watch the form of your world change. And you don't get to do it by pulling back, by playing small, by holding on. You just don't get to do it. You've got to let go. You've got to risk. You've got to throw caution to the wind and jump off the cliff and trust that you're going to fly. You know, and I think that there have been many points in my life where if I wasn't going to fly, then I'm just happy crashing. Because I'm not going to stay on that cliff anymore. What is it? Anais Nin said that when the pain of staying the bud, when the fear of becoming the flower, when the pain of staying the bud was greater than the fear of becoming the flower blossoms. So sure, we all go, I don't know if I want to do that. I don't know. You know, I've got this. I saved this. I've really nurtured it, and it's mine, and I made it, and I want to keep it, and it's the only one I have, and I don't want to let go of this. My story, my past, my history, the way that I see the world, could be one of that, could be a thing, I don't know. And then life says, you got to let it go. You got to let it go. And so when we have fear, if we give in to the fear, it's not that you're not ever going to have fear. Of course you're going to have fear. But when we give in to the fear and let the fear rule us, we don't take the path to greatness. And then we sit there and look around at our life and say, why is my life so small? Selena.
I read a quote the other day that said, go ahead and take your risk, and if it doesn't work out, you'll be wiser. But if it does work out, you'll be happy.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me.
Either way, you're going to grow from it. But if you don't take the risk, then I think that's why people die. We were talking about retiring. You know, people stop being pushed. They stop risking. They stop being challenged. And most people are dead 5 years after they retired. Drew.
Before I came here, I was in insurance, life insurance, health insurance, in Central Georgia and several different states. And I had thousands of clients. The ones that stopped and sat down died quickly. They had nothing, they were no move. The ones that went out and did things had gardens, had fun. They lived so much longer.
Right.
And it's just like, you can tell. I mean, I can tell if I'm, if they're out doing the garden, they're like, hey, I'm loving life, and they're gonna do this, and I don't care if I have the money, but I'm just gonna do it, I'm gonna have it. They live so much longer. It's just beyond reckoning. You could just watch it happen.
When we first moved here, we knew a lot of old-timey North Carolina people. And the old farmers, if they started a garden in the spring, they would be alive in the fall. If they stopped the garden, they were dying that year. Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy.
Our movement of Science of Mind ministers crashed our retirement fund because they wouldn't die. They just wouldn't die, so all of the math didn't work. And they crashed it.
What do you mean they crashed it?
They took out more money than was going in because they wouldn't die. They're supposed to be dead at what, like 79, they're going to be 100 and all of that, and they just crashed it. Yeah. Troy.
A couple of days ago, I came across a quote by Rumi that just stopped me, and it's very short. And it said, "Why do you act so small? You are the universe."
Yeah. Yeah.
I like that.
But if we really get who we are, that brings with it a certain requirement to do things differently. We can no longer hide behind the idea of, I'm not big enough, I'm not good enough, I don't have enough talent to pull this off, I don't have enough support to pull it off. I think that's why 35 years ago when I came into this teaching, we were still doing, oh, I'm just a little part of God. And that's still, don't ask too much of me, I'm just a little part of God. No, you're not. You're the whole thing. You're the whole thing. And so when we get that, then we're not defensive. We're not fighting other people. We don't have to put other people down. There's more than enough so we can lift other people up. And again, he talks about that being the key. To be able to see people as perfect even though not complete. And he talks about some of the big tycoons again, because isn't it easy to just go into judgment? I mean, certainly, we're in politics right now. The conversations about this one and that one, and this one. And all of that comes from insecurity and fear. And the only way to be insecure is to not know who you are. Once you know who you are, that there's a principle of power within you that is spirit itself, that is God itself, and he does use that word. God itself, he says, that is what's in you. Then you know that there's no excuses because you don't have what it takes. So once you stop making excuses, you'll find the need to put other people down is gone. And as you stop putting other people down, you begin lifting other people up. And that really is the key to personal transformation, which is global transformation. You can't do one without the other. Let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me. And when we start to lift other people up, we begin this thing of putting more life into something. You know, you can feel the energy in here. This is not like any other place you walk into in your life. Because we put more life in it. More love, more joy, more happiness, more healing. We put more into it, and so you can feel it. And when we do that on a global level, it gets even bigger. But how can we lift ourselves up without lifting everybody else up? So if we're putting other people down, we're putting ourselves down. That's why I love that these kinds of books are just, for me, they're just really clear. It's like, don't do that. Don't put other people down because you're going to hurt yourself. And you're going to take all of humanity and go backwards. Lift yourself up and then lift everybody in your life up. And pick the people that are just annoying you. Is she asleep?
No.
No, okay. Pick the people that are just annoying you. Because those are your greatest teachers. They're your greatest teacher to show you where you need to work. Because there is no other. There is only you in front of the mirror. And when you go in front of the mirror and you hold up a blouse or a jacket or a dress or whatever, and you don't like it, the only thing to do is to not take that and take something else. So when you look out at your world and there's one person that just really ticks you off, that's the one to grab hold of and say, what can I do to heal this? What is it about you? What is my disowned self? What am I ready to heal, or I wouldn't have created this in my life as you? What am I ready to heal so that I can have wonderful relationships with everybody and lift everybody up? And my experience is that when you heal that, you're very grateful to that person. You know, we're all talking about being diamonds in the rough and all of that, perfect though not complete. Well, diamonds have to go through a lot. They get chipped on. I mean, it's not just being in the little tumbling block with grit rubbing you and polishing you. You get chipped on, you get polished, you get rubbed, you get manipulated.
Pressured.
Pardon me?
Pressured.
Pressured before you even get to the point of being called a diamond. So when we're going through those experiences, it's important to look at them as a gift, as an advanced class, as the fast track. Oh wow, I'm going into really letting my light shine. I'm getting chipped. I'm getting polished. Wow. And then we look at this principle of power within us, and we look at all of the pressure that we've been through. Look at what you've accomplished so far. My gosh. What?
I've made strides.
I've made strides.
You have made strides, Michaela. I've known you a couple of years now. You have. Look at all of the things you've overcome. Look at all of the things that you've worked out. How many times, for me personally, have I thought, there's no way out of this? And yet there was. There's no answer to this problem. There's no solution. It's impossible. And yet, things happen. How many times have we reached deeply into ourselves and found something that would carry us through? Sometimes it surprises us. Wow, I didn't know I had that in me. And you would never have known unless you looked, unless you reached. Troy and then Jane.
But you know, they say that sleep is when the human persona disappears, and the only thing that remains is consciousness itself. And when you have that problem, you go to bed, and you might be worried about it, and you just can't get a grip on it. But either in sleep or upon waking, the answer is there. And where did it come from? You know, you say it's a gift from within, say it's a gift from the universe. There it is.
Right, right. He's saying that we have all of the answers, and when we will open up to it, then that's when we get it. And I too have awakened a number of times and had an idea or a thought. Sometimes, you know, John and I will go to bed on Saturdays and like, have you got to talk yet? No, but I'll have it in the morning. Because we get it. It's kind of a download. Jane.
Yeah, when I was a kid, that's 30, and I found myself on a plane going to the Arctic. And I remember sitting there, I didn't know anybody, you know, and, but I was anyway, so there I was, and I was thinking, what have I done to myself? And I was living in New York City at the time, and I was on my way to the frozen waste where there's nothing and nobody anywhere, and I just was more angry at myself, you know.
But today, all these years later, you look at that as one of your greatest accomplishments.
It was
yes,
terrific.
yes.
Yeah.
And if you hadn't pushed yourself to go where you didn't know anybody and do something that sounded crazy, then you wouldn't be sitting here today saying, I have something inside of me.
Yeah.
I have something inside of me. It's so important to challenge ourselves. It's so important to do what we think we don't have enough time to do, we don't have enough money to do, we don't have enough education to do, we don't have enough age to do, whatever it is that is lying to us in fear and saying, no, you can't. It's so important for us to break through that and say, yes, I can. Yes, I can. And how is it that we can? Not because we're going to just hunker down and make it happen. No. Some people do that, but that's a low level of creating. We open up to the principle of power that is within us. There is something in us. The same way that life is in us, we are alive. The same way that life is in us and we don't have to go get it or find it or pay for it or make sure it stays in the morning. We are alive. There is a principle of power within us, and when we open up to it, we find that we are lifted up and supported by the universe. Has anybody ever felt that? Yes, I would venture to say every last person in this room has felt that. But as long as we think, well, maybe I have it, but just barely, and I've got to do it all myself, then it's a very difficult creation. And so what he's talking about is opening up to the mind of God. And I love him when he says that wisdom is omniscience in man. Omniscience is all-knowing. Omniscience is one of the attributes of spirit, one of the qualities of the divine, that whatever God is everywhere present, knows everything. How can there be something that God doesn't know? So wisdom is the all-knowingness of spirit in you. Now, the same way that there's a principle of power within you, there is omniscience within you. You have an ability to know what you need to know. And sometimes people come to me and they say, well, I don't know what to do. And I say, well, great, because if you were supposed to do something, you would know what to do. And since you don't know what to do, it means that it's not time to do it. You might know what to do in a second, and then it will be time for you to take action. Then it's just up to you whether or not you're going to have the courage to take action. So wisdom is omniscience in man, and that also presupposes that you have this sense that that's inside of you, that connection with spirit that is all, that does know all. Has anybody ever gotten actual verbal cues? Whatever. Intuition, wisdom. You actually heard it. Yes. Yes. John tells a story when he was a young man in Texas, and there was I think it was a dried out retention pond or something that was a hole that had grass in it. And for some reason, he wanted to burn the grass out. And so he poured gasoline all around the edges, and he took a match and threw it, and heard beyond a shadow of a doubt, run! And as it was exploding, he turned and ran. And he's very sure that that either saved his life or saved his face or something. But that was a crystal clear word. And I believe that each of us has that knowing. Sometimes it's vague. Well, I just have an intuitive feeling that maybe I'm supposed to move to Asheville, that I'm supposed to go to this event tonight. And sometimes it is just clearly verbal.
What happened? Did the hole explode?
Sure, when fire meets gasoline, it's not kerosene. Kerosene's different, but gasoline explodes.
If it's in a bowl, it becomes an air fuel bomb.
Yeah.
Whatever it was. Yes.
But the grass was gone, right?
I'm sure it grew back.
It blew up.
So trust yourself. Trust yourself that you've made it over every hurdle you've ever found, that there is something within you that will carry you through. But then you've got to take action. This teaching asks a lot of you. If there's something for you to do, you've got to do it. You're either going to go and do it and risk falling flat on your face and learning something or succeeding, or you're going to stay small, and probably because your energy is so constricted, you're going to develop some physical illnesses of what is constriction? Arthritis, digestive problems, what?
Cancer.
Is cancer a restricted thing?
Heart issues.
Heart
Heart
issues, yeah, where you're tightened up and you're holding on and you're just not gonna, you get crabby and nobody likes you.
Emphysema is a constriction.
Is it, what'd you say, Lynn? Ulcer, yeah, all of those things, you will develop that, and there'll always be a part of you that knows you could have been great. I could have been a contender, you know?
What's a contender?
It's an old movie, a fight thing. And I don't think we're meant to live with regrets. I think that the regrets are harder to live with than any amount of effort that would have gone into changing our thought, changing our experience, paying attention to what we're focusing on, getting the guidance, and then taking action. Whatever effort that requires is going to be less than having to live with a sense of regret. Was that Michaela? Did you have your hand up?
I was stretching.
Okay. So, have you had that experience before? Because it's good to anchor it in your mind. Say, I remember, wait a minute, I remember that, and either I went down the path where I didn't do anything and everything was not good, or I went down the path where I really took a risk and things turned out well. Have you had any of those experiences? When you remember that, when you're at the point of choice again, then for me it's helpful to say, well, wait a minute. It's like when we built this place, it was hard. It was many a sleepless night. Many, many times we ran out of money. We were taken advantage of by builders and ripped off because of our naivete and did things that we shouldn't have done. And it was very difficult to do that. And yet, had we not done that, we'd still be in a trailer out in Fairview or in a storefront or maybe not even here. Maybe it would have just been something that fell apart because it's an energy of let's be all that we can be, you know. We don't need to go into the army, but it's a really great slogan. And if we set our intention and are willing to bring it forth into form, the universe will support us and manifest it. So when I look back on that, as difficult it was for years, it was worth the effort. So whenever something comes up, John and I look at each other and say, well, it's not as hard as building. You know, it's not as hard as this was. And if we really focus on it, it's going to work out. So does anybody have anything that they want to share to help in the course of others? Margaret?
Well, I had a big deal for me when I was 28. Being a high school dropout and dyslexic, had an opportunity to go to nursing school, and it was like really scary for me, but I thought, you know, I really would like to have a career if I could, but I didn't even have a GED. So I decided this is something that I really want to do, and I just went for it. You know?
How many times did you have to read the page?
3 times. Everything I ever read was always 3 times, and I would just decide what it said. So I guessed a lot. But I really wanted to do it. I didn't know if I could do it. I didn't think I was smart enough. But I gave it a try, and sure enough, I passed nursing school. And I loved being a nurse. Loved it.
And you were a good nurse.
Oh, I'm a great nurse. Yeah.
That's my girl. Just because you made up what the book said had nothing to do with your intelligence.
You must have made it up right.
Good, good.
Yeah.
You could have said, my history and my story says that I'm going to be poor and have a miserable life for the rest of my life. You could have done that. And society would have said, oh, well, of course, that was your only choice.
But I wanted more.
Pardon me?
I wanted more.
You wanted more.
Yeah.
Exactly. And if you want more, you have to put more life out into your life so that it will morph into something more. You cannot get more on the outside without putting more in from the inside. It just doesn't work. Who else? Susan.
I had 3 children. My youngest was 4 months old, and I was in a terrible marriage, alcoholic marriage, and I had a fear that if I was on my own, they were going to come and take my children and board up my windows. But I left the marriage, and I went on to go to school for 2 different careers and get degrees in those careers, and nobody ever boarded my windows, nobody ever took my children. I kept my house, and tough times, we did it. Fun times also equaled it out, fun times. And we all wound up still liking each other, not only loving each other, but still liking each other, my kids and I.
Good for you.
Yeah,
Good for you.
yeah.
And it wasn't always easy, especially for women. It was not always easy.
It wasn't easy. But people would say, I don't know, Susan, how do you do that? And I would say, do what? Because I didn't stop to think that it was impossible. It was, just do it. Just do it.
Right.
I mean, there was, I didn't have parents, I didn't have relatives, it was just do it. Yeah.
There's a basic mindset of, yes, I can. And there's a basic mindset of, no, I can't, so I'm not even gonna try. And that makes all the difference. And if you have a no, I can't, so I'm not even going to try, it is really worth your while to change that to yes, I can. Yes, I can. You would not have it in front of you if you couldn't. It just wouldn't be there.
I remember speaking with somebody when I was attempting to go into school. I went on to be a therapist and then on to be a minister, 2 different types of school. And I remember saying, well, if I take this course, I'll be 35 years old when I get out. And he said, you'll be 35 years old if you don't go in and you don't go out.
Right.
So you might as well.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Terry.
When I was 52, I lost a job that I figured I would probably have for the rest of my life, and I hated it. It was really a bad job, and the thing came up that I was fired, and I decided to go back to school myself at that time, and I went back to nursing school, and like Margaret was saying, I loved it. It was one of the best things I ever did for myself.
Being a nurse or going to school?
Being both. I loved going to school. I was with all these young kids, and I was 52 years old, and my sister had said to me the same thing that Susan just said. How old are you going to be when you'll be 52 when you start, and you're going to be a little bit older than that when you finish, but you would be the same thing if you didn't go. So I finished, and then Bruce and I decided that we were going to move to North Carolina and start our home health agency at that point. And I can remember standing in the office thinking, oh my God, this is really going to work. And this was before I started coming here. And I don't know why, I don't know where that came from or what, but I just knew it was going to work, and it lasted for 20 years.
Wow.
And I was so grateful for it.
Right, right.
I found that sometimes being fired from a job was the best thing
Oh,
in the world.
it was wonderful.
Because a lot of times when we're in a job we don't like, we're afraid to leave.
Oh, I was.
That's
I
the
was
universe
terrified.
telling you it's time to leave.
Right, if you're not a vibrational match anymore, it's not going to stay. And if you don't have the courage to leave, they will leave for you. Yes. B.
I just need to say that I'm just so grateful for this class, because in listening to the stories and each one of you talking in this, I've always thought I was I can't person. And I realize now, by your stories and remembering my life, that it's been so incredible that I actually have always been I can. And if I look back on my life, it's a miracle that what's happened, but I never appreciated it till now. So,
Wow,
it's just,
yay.
thank you.
Good for you. Good for you. Who else? Nobody, okay. Okay. Do not let other people decide what you are to be. Wow. Now, who could go on that list? Who might be deciding what you are to be?
Parents.
Parents. Parents.
Spouse.
Parents. Parents. Parents.
Freudian slip, what?
In our household, my brothers went to college. My parents saved to send them to college. There were no student loans at that time. We paid to go to college. And my sister and I both dropped out of high school because that was the expectation that women, girls, do not need an education.
They just get married and have babies.
Sure. They're just gonna, what did you say, Jane?
I said, just the guys, that's true.
Right. And so the fact that you went to nursing school and I went on to get a doctorate, you know, is just a statement about when we stop letting other people tell us who we can be, then we can be amazing people. We can be amazing people, but if we give up, and gosh, I just want to say that sometimes, if we had a sign with a marquee, you know, a lot of times I would say just don't give up. Just hang in there, just don't give up, don't stop, doesn't matter what it looks like. Just put one more step forward and you'll find that things work out, that you find your answer, the solution shows up if you stay clear. I think we give up way too easily. And we give in way too easily. How many people in a stereotypical male-female marriage, how many people of the female side let the husband tell them who they are and what they can and cannot do? And then it flips the other way. How many people on the male side let the wife tell them who they are and what they can and cannot do? What do you mean you want to buy a sailboat? You're not going to buy a sailboat. You're not going to go sailing. I don't care if it's your money, it's our money, and I'm going to control you all the way to the end. What do you mean you want to start a business out of the house? You can't start a business. You're not smart enough to start a business. You can't do that. It's just so ingrained that sometimes the closer that we get, the more we try to hold each other down because we are insecure about who we are, because we've forgotten that there is a principle of power within us and a principle of power in others. That's why I think all third marriages are 95% successful. So whenever they say, you know, marriages are not successful, sure they are. Third marriages are. They're 95% successful.
I second
because,
that.
because we are,
Heard that, yeah.
we have learned not to try to control the other person. And you know, that school of hard knocks, boy, when John and I got married, I said, I'm not doing another divorce. I don't think I can do another divorce in my life. And so if we're going to get married, this is going to have to be the whole shebang, because I just can't deal with divorcing again. It's too hard. So when we have people around us that we have taught to tell us who we are, and we do that by saying, hey, I have this idea, what do you think? Oh no, that's a terrible idea. Oh, okay. No, what people think of you is none of your business. Don't ask them for their opinions. If you have something, you're getting guidance from the universe, you're ready to play it big, and you're moving into that thing that says, I think I can do this. I think I can have this be something that I do in life, and it will be putting more life into my life. And then we go around, we ask for permission from the people around us. There's a reason that you haven't done it yet. And you've surrounded yourself with people that reflect that reason of being small, of holding back, of being insecure. And so when you ask for validation from people that you've attracted by being small, they're just going to say, no, you can't be big, you're small. Because that's the person you put in your life already. And so you'd go, can I be big? And all of this stuff you've already set up says, no, you can't be big, you have to be small. Oh, I guess I'm just small. No, don't do that. Don't let other people decide who you are. You have to be who you are, and then you get to tell them, either verbally or by living your life, who you are. And then they will either say, wow, that's great, or they'll go, you know, I just want to go find another friend that wants to be small with me.
Right.
And if that's the case, let them go, because somebody else will show up that wants to play a bigger game. And that's a constantly evolving experience in life. Every day you awaken and decide whether you're going to play it out there or you're going to play it all constricted and oh, I need to just stay home and take a nap because life is just so hard. And I think I had some gluten and it just threw me off. No, don't do that. If you have something that you want to do, trust that there is that within you that will carry you through, and do it and go for it and risk it all. And if you lose it all, so what? You live in an abundant universe where there's more than enough for all. Risk telling somebody the truth. I tell the truth and tell it quickly. I ask for what I want when I want it. Risk putting yourself out there. And if that person wasn't the right person for you, that job, that neighbor, that friend, whatever, then the right one will show up. Jane, Troy, and Drew, and then we're going to break.
That is kind of, in our society, that's harder than it seems,
I said this was hard.
There's a movie called Joy, I don't know if anyone
Haven't seen it, don't spoil it for me.
Okay, you gotta see it.
Okay, don't talk about it. It's on my list, it's on my list.
Yep.
Troy.
Yeah, Wattles said in the previous book that if somebody criticizes you or tells you something bad about yourself, it's only true if you buy into it and believe it.
Right. Good. True.
When a person does that, they're pushing into the stuff, they're impressing, like you said, into that stuff of creation.
Sure,
They're trying to
formless
create
substance,
stuff,
yes.
form something upon you. If you agree with it,
Right,
it's there, you own it.
right, right.
If you disagree and do not comply, and be your own person and be emotionally not lazy, and go, hey, wait a minute, that's not that. I'm this. So I disbelieve, and I do not agree. I'm going this way.
Right, right. And it's something we all have to do. Some of us do it publicly, like Cam Newton is doing right now. He's having to find the best quarterback in the world inside of him again. None of us get off the hook. We have to find the greatness within us. And in the process of growth, it's not always pretty, and sometimes we get dirty and it's messy, and we've got to find it and pick ourselves up and move on again. But if we don't give up, and if we keep going for it, it will happen and it will show up. Let's take a break.